Florian Bellumeur est le cabinet d'assurance idéal pour une école d'arts martiaux ou tout type d'entreprise. S'appuyant sur plusieurs années d'expérience, leur équipe est sensible aux besoins des entrepreneurs. Ils vous offriront des produits qui répondent vraiment à vos besoins en assurance de dommages et un service à la clientèle qui vous permettra d'avoir la tête tranquille pour vous consacrer à votre passion. Composez le 1-877-472-0078, mentionnez Guerrier Podcast pour être dirigé vers leur équipe de spécialistes.
Les cicatrices nous rappellent d'où on arrive, les combats qu'on doit livrer quand le destin chavire. Guerrier, on fera ce qu'il faut pour la famille. Cœur de lion, œil de tigre, on a la paix dans la mire.
The battles are never ending, I know, but we will get up and get on with the fight. And we'll do whatever for what is right. Just put your trust in us, in us.
This week at Interview with a Warrior, we are live at the Shinobi weekend.
Oh yeah, in Quebec!
Quebec City, actually, for a second time.
It's an event that's ongoing every year. For 10 years. That's my 10 times going this. Yeah, and today we are receiving my teachers from New Hampshire, Dennis Mahonney and Theresa Murphy. Oh yeah, for the first time on the podcast.
Yeah, for Theresa. So welcome on the podcast. Thank you to be there. And but I was saying we're there for the second time for the podcast,
right?
At the Shinobi weekend.
Yes,
it's a great event every year, as far as I know, and I really like my experience. So thank you to you too. It's mind blowing. Each year.
You do the work. You do the work. We just show you the experiences and the drills, and then you do it and you figure stuff out.
Yeah, you bring us to the river. We have to drink, but you bring us to the river.
Here's the river. Drink the water.
The water.
Drink the water. Sometimes we might force feed you the water. But
yeah. Okay. So, do you do that often to teach when, like, the majority of the students are not English-speaking people, like
no, mostly it's just these guys.
It's just here,
right?
Yeah,
it's just them.
Yeah,
a bit. It's as confusing in English sometimes, but
true.
Yeah,
but yeah, at some point we're always joking around because there's a universal language between us, which is punches to the face.
Yeah. And
so we can literally see, and sometimes I will teach, they will look and they will come to me after and they say, that was good. Well, I was speaking French. Yeah, but we're speaking Taijutsu. We're speaking body movement. And what we saw was correct.
That was interesting. Was it this morning session? You were going in French and teaching your session. And then I think it was Sebastian walked by and he goes, so do you understand what he's saying? No, but I know what he's doing. And because I was watching, I'm like, no, he's working on alignment and moving back and forth because his demonstration, his body alignment, it was so good. It's that I don't need to understand the language. His body movement was doing it. So, yeah, it is kind of funny. It doesn't matter. And I know most everyone here speaks English really well.
Yeah, we're very fortunate. We're very fortunate about that.
But even then, everyone's watching, and like a couple times, like we had a couple people today, they'll come over and ask a question in English, we'll give them an answer, and they're like, oh, I figured out this. Mm-hmm. I'm like, yes, that's exactly it. Now in French, go tell everybody.
Yeah. And you do that a lot, doing seminar like that in the US. Yes.
We frequently, like when somebody discovers something, we want them to demonstrate or we want them to show because it helps everybody else connect the answers. Mm-hmm. So if it's just us teaching and demonstrating, it doesn't. What's more powerful is if we teach a lesson and we have a student come over and we have them do it to us, because then it makes it more real, because they're just learning it or figuring it out. Or when they figure something out, we go, come show everybody, come with your partner, show everybody. It makes it more real and more attainable. And that's what we're there, is not to show what we can do, it's what we can teach you to do, and then you can go from there and learn more.
I know that certain martial art teacher don't like the internet vibe and publishing classes on the internet, but you do. And how do you see like the difference between the live experience and the learning through the internet? Because it's really not the same experience at all.
No,
there's nothing like the live.
No, it's not. It's not the same. But we have a unique advantage in this. Our teacher, a guy named Mark Davis at Boston Martial Arts, he made me understand many years ago that our job is to not demonstrate what we could do, create an experience. So the students, while doing this experience, discover on their own the principle without us telling them the principle. Mm-hmm. So with that mentality since 1992, I've been teaching this stuff, we have been working at making experiments. So the things that are recorded that people can go and watch are not us demonstrating and explaining everything. It's like, we'll go, okay, here's this person doing this, you're doing this. Now, do this experiment. If you feel this, make this adjustment. If you feel this, make this adjustment, and see if you can figure out why it's working. Mm-hmm. So it's okay, because they're doing the experiment live with their partners doing the training. Now, here's the problem. If you watch our videos and you're not going to do the experiments, you're wasting your time and money. But if you're willing to do the experiments the way we teach, it can work. We're not trying to replace the live experience. We're just trying to spread out the amount of people doing the experiment by using the internet. So it's a different way of looking at it.
And the living proof that this is working is basically sitting right here. Because at some point, yes, I do watch online what they're doing, and I do the experiment. Mm-hmm. And at some point, I'm going, we're seeing each other, every 3-4 months live, and I'm going there and look what I found. What do you have to what do you have to correct me? And what's next? And they go, yes, you got what you've been. So I'm not going there and then not showing me what they showed in the past 3 months, because I've seen it, I've experimented, and I'm like, okay, now I understand this. Yes, it's good. Okay, what's next? Next is this. Okay, so now it's kind of it would probably be ideal if I would live right next to them, of course. But now they are so good at creating experiments that you can, if you're willing, you can actually find your own stuff, and then it creates powerful neural link in your brain. You have found this by yourself. It's not someone who just told you, move your hand there. Look, that's perfect because I told you to move your hand there. No, they designed something that makes me realize that I need to be aligned this way. So if I'm doing the damn experiment, then I can apply this everywhere. It's going to work.
And the only reason we can do this is honestly, the student that's been with me the longest is a guy named Derek Thompson out in California. He was with me from 92 to 95 or 96. Then he moved out to California to become an animator. He's been doing animation, like the Iron Giant. He's been working in Disney and all over the place. Very successful. But back in 95, 96, he would call me up and go, there's not a lot of people to train with. What am I working on? And he had a couple of people to work out. And at this point, it wasn't online. It was on a phone with a cord. Wow. Okay, and we would go, are you standing? Yeah, try this. What happened? And we kept doing that for years. And then he would come home, I'd see him, we'd bombard him, he'd go home, and he'd call me up on the phone, and then the phones didn't have cords anymore, so it was like, great, we could go outside. And then the phones had pictures, so we could see each other, and then we came online. Yeah. It has just evolved, but it started on a phone with a cord back in 1995, 96.
Yeah, it allows certain martial art to grow outside of regional area, because personally I cannot have access to Kevin if we don't have internet to communicate, and for me to have access to his web platform allow me to grow in ninjutsu, because I don't have that art teaches that way, and he learned from you very well because his platform is very well designed, and I can understand very well at distance and grow. Even though I don't see him frequently, I see him like 1 or 2 times a year. So,
but the reason he can do that is because he did all the work.
Yeah.
He looked at the experiments, he looked at the drills, and he did them, and then he's like, okay, this is what I found, this is what I've discovered, this is what I think. What's next? What do I, is there anything I need to know? And so because he did it all, he learned it and internalized it, and now he's able to pass it to somebody else. Mm-hmm. And that's the really important thing, is you learn it for yourself. It's not us telling you this is the way to do it. We're going, here, this is stuff. If you want to do it, if you want to try it, go ahead. And if you want to send us video or call us or text us or email us and ask us questions, or we'll support you in whatever way we can. But he can teach you that way. It's because he did the work.
Yeah.
And it crosses languages, like we said. It's crossing from English to French. But it didn't start in English. It started in Japanese. But our teacher, Mark, was an electrical engineer. He just could have been a professional football player, but he was an electrical engineer. And he's just a genius at this. He's our savant at this. He's amazing. But he's the one that started this. So he was one of Stephen Hayes' original students. So Stephen took something that was culturally Japanese, introduced it to us, and said, here's a translation, a cultural translation. Do these things. And Mark was one of his original students when Stephen was experimenting. Mr. Hayes now doesn't experiment. He's been doing it all of his life, But those experiments up in the beginning, when he was trying to figure it out, my teacher was around for that. And then he instilled that in me. So it went from Japanese to Stephen. And then Mark had to figure out how to make Stephen's words apply, because Stephen was in Ohio. He jokes, there's not a lot of people getting beat up in the neighborhood that he lives in. We were downtown Boston in the 90s, in the 80s actually, and it was not a safe place. So we were applying it to very different things. So we had to take that, but our teacher translated that to us, then gave us the idea of how to make this pass on. So Kevin's not showing you what I do. Kevin's showing you what he does, just like Theresa said. What he understands.
Yeah.
And then he sets up the experience for you to discover it, and then you go, okay, what about this?
Yeah.
So these events we get together are basically are we still on the same page in understanding? That's all they are. They're little tune-ups to our understanding so that we share the same understanding. I don't need to know French to know if he's doing it right. I can look around at everybody out in the field today and go, yep, he's doing it right because they're doing it right.
Yeah.
I had nothing to do with that. That came from Kevin.
Yeah.
But it's because he did the work. That's our catch. See, there's a lot of places you can go and follow the head person and just do what they sell you. That doesn't work with us. You got to do the work, and if you do the work, you can pass it on. He's done the work.
So I have a tricky question, which I know already the answer, but I want to hear from you guys. We know that ninjutsu is in a tricky position politically. So how would you say that what we are doing is actually ninjutsu? Because some branches will declare themselves as, no, if you're not following that kind of family, you're not doing the real ninjutsu. How would you describe what we are doing with our background and now our way of promoting, of evaluating with Shinobi Science? How would you describe this as being ninjutsu?
That was a really good question.
No, it is.
You need time to think, or you want to? No, go ahead. Okay. It's a great question, because here's the thing. Ninjutsu in its entirety. This is the people out there, ninjutsu doesn't have any martial arts. Well, that's like saying a spy doesn't know how to shoot a gun. Okay, that's just silly, okay? Historically, yeah, it was a subset of people that were doing a certain espionage thing. And yes, historically, does it all really come down? People argue about this, but the name changed over the generations in Japan. So ninjutsu is the name that got passed on in this generation. Before the Shinobi no Mono and all these other names, okay? So there's all those translations and iterations of the name there. But Takamatsu brought this stuff together, presented it to Hatsumi Sensei, and he created the Bujinkan. And the Bujinkan spawned Toshindo, Mufuan, Jininkan, Genbukan, and then it spawned others that weren't part of that in the 80s, the boom in the 80s, that were like, oh, I'm Koga Ninja, I'm this ninja. And everyone was a ninja in the 80s before MMA started and before the Brazilians took over the community identity. So it's here. Now, is everything we're doing ninjutsu? Yes, as we understand it. We specialized in the Taijutsu body movement and applying that for realistic fighting because that's our function. There's a guy named Sean Askew who is an amazing historian. He's got great Taijutsu, but he's an amazing historian. He has looked up and found the connection from Takamatsu back to the Japanese families that proved the lineage actually existed.
Oh, that's the book, The Hidden Lineage.
Yeah, The Hidden Lineage, right? There's another guy, I can't remember his name, and I feel bad, a German gentleman, who studied with Hatsumi Sensei.
Are you talking about Anthony Cummins?
No.
No.
It's a different person, and I can't remember the name, and I feel really bad because he was online, and people were giving him a hard time, but he studied the Ninpo health and body systems of, really got in depth with it as one of Hatsumi Sensei's students, and was teaching and showing that. That's his specialty, okay? Fumio Manaka was Dr. Hatsumi's student, went and created the Jinnikan. And if you talk to Jinnikan guys, they are amazing at the details of what each kata has. So they're all over the place. It's such a big thing. Ninjutsu is not just the martial art. Now you got to do all the weapons. And then the stealth movement and the espionage and the hiding and the mind sciences and how these all function.
And the health and recovery and wellness.
Yeah, the health, recovery, wellness. It's huge. And depending on your personal lineage of who you got information from is where you specialize. Our teacher was a master at the body movement and how to use it to fight, because we were all, when I started with him in the 80s, everybody that was training with him, we either had a black belt or there was a police officer, a bunch of us were bouncers, we had a couple of security guards. I mean, everybody in the room already fought. Mm-hmm. And then we met Mark, and he was like, I'm going to show you how to fight right. And he just threw us around like we weren't even there. So that was our lineage. So we wanted to figure out how to use that body dynamic. So is it ninjutsu? Yes. We call it Shinobi Science because we're studying the body movement with modern science and physiology to try to understand something that's Japanese, that we're not Japanese. Mm-hmm. So is it truly ninjutsu? Well, yeah, that's our root, and we're doing our branch of it. Mm-hmm. The guys that are doing the classical kata that way, that's ninjutsu too. But see, here's the problem. On the internet, supposedly, I can't confirm this, there's 400,000 people in the Bujinkan. We're still in it. It's not Taekwondo numbers, but it's a few people. And you got this giant thing that goes passed down from person to person. Not everybody putting videos up there saying they're ninjutsu knows what they're doing. They're not, so we get this reputation of, that would never work in a fight. Yeah, if you're standing there doing a mechanical model version, no, that's not going to work in the fight, but that's just some place you're supposed to go to get the idea to apply it. So it's a huge thing. It's not like right now, how many MMA Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu families are there? Mm-hmm. But it's only been 20 years, mm-hmm. and it started with one.
It's already all divided. And
okay. In 20 years. Mm-hmm. Okay. We've been around for 900.
Yeah.
Okay. And the Bujinkan started back in 1980 and went worldwide. Of course, we're all over the place, and everyone looks different and has different abilities and different capabilities. Why wouldn't it? That's what people do. So I don't judge anybody. It's like, if that's what they're doing, that's what they're doing.
But bad martial artists, there are in every martial arts. You can find a bad martial
everything's
artist
a bell
in every
curve.
martial
Yeah,
art.
everything's a bell curve. There's good, there's bad, and there's everybody in the middle.
It's a false argument.
Yeah.
To say ninjutsu doesn't work because I saw something that don't seem to work.
Yeah. On a 30-second clip on internet.
Yeah, I absolutely. I mean, it's like so many things in life. Whether you're talking martial arts or you're talking different, paths of life, like what you're going to do for your career, or there's people that are doctors that are fantastic. There are people that are doctors that are horrible. It doesn't matter. You can pick lawyers. You could pick somebody who is a janitor. You can pick whatever you want. There's going to be people that follow that bell curve. So same with Ninpo. It's like there are people that are very good at it. There are people that know the lineage, and to do all of it seems to me vastly impossible. There's so much knowledge there. So, for me, when I started, I had studied other martial arts, and one of the things that, as somebody smaller and a woman, a lot of times things didn't work for me. They're like, oh, do the wrist lock this way or do the throw that way, and I'm like, my two hands doesn't fit around this guy's hand. How do I make that wrist lock work?
But that brings me a question. You being one of the few personal students of Anshu Rimiko-A's, what are those challenges as a woman doing martial art when it's mostly a men's club? How did you adapt this art, and what makes it functional for you? Why not boxing? Why not jiu-jitsu? Why this is the thing? And
I'd studied several other martial arts, and I'd studied them to be black belts and beyond. And I liked them, but there was a real part of me that knew that a lot of this stuff would never work. Like I said, wrist locks, I remember thinking me throwing somebody over my shoulder was never going to work. I did it more.
Especially if your training partner is called Ismaili.
You know, right? Exactly.
Just to make a context, this guy is like 6'4", 6'2".
Yeah.
400. No. Okay. Yeah, but so Theresa would never be able to throw this guy. Yeah.
But when I found this, first I found Mark Davis, and he was so humble, and he talked so great about the art, and he was unlike so many other big seminar guys I went to, and they were all about how great they were and what they could do. Mark was the opposite. He was like, and his adjustments were particular to you. It wasn't the same. And then I found Dennis in the training groups, and I started training. But what amazed me was, like, the first night I was there, we were going to do a rear hip throw or a sotokake, and the guy that I was with, I kept trying to muscle him like I had every other art, like grab on and like hoist him over my hip, and he was way bigger. And he kept saying, sink your knees into gravity. He's like, let go of me. He's like, get close, turn here, get under my hip, and then just turn and extend out. And he went flying. And I was like, I have never felt this before in my life. Wow. It was like I didn't do anything, and this guy just went flying. So I was totally hooked. But as far as a difficulty for a woman, I think I didn't adapt this art. The art adapted me. Like, I learned through this art how to utilize the spaces, how to utilize gravity, how to think about what is, like, look at the katas and learn the principles from them and apply them in places. And one of the great things I learned from Anshu Rumiko is, after the many years I was her student, is she has a couple of things. She's like, as a smaller person, you have to end it. If you're in any sort of altercation, you need to end it as quick as possible, because no matter how good you are, you're smaller, and the longer it goes on, the more likely you're going to get hurt. Her other thing was, every move has to be effective. Not effective like I'm getting away, but effective in that it has to affect
your
other
margin
person.
of error is very small.
Right. It has to be not just getting out of the way and having my hands up. It has to be moving so that they are off balance, or they don't know where I am. I disappear, so they don't know where I am. So they have to regain, and when they regain, I'm either there to do something, or I'm there to take them even more off balance. so it's always, and it's ended as quick. So she's got certain parameters that I think are, and I think that's why this art to me is important, not just for women but for smaller people, because we're at a disadvantage, and that's what we teach with Shinobi Science, is we really teach the taijutsu, the body movement, like how do you move in gravity, how do you move in the spaces, how do you move so you disappear and they don't know where you are, like how do you use balancing and your structure to your advantage so that you can disappear, because the goal is so different. It's not to overcome or win. The goal is I'm going to survive and go home to the people I love and the people who love me.
That's a huge burden to bear, actually. Like for us, man, like we just get around and blah 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 and muscles, but wow, it's like I'm just humble right now. Like you have so much to think about that we don't have, men. Whoa! Whoa! Speaking of ninjas, it just appeared next to me. That's a ninja.
Yeah.
No,
Well, actually.
yeah, but this weekend, like always for almost 10 years now, you've been coming to Ninja Camp for 10 years. Right? This year,
Actually, longer. Before you started, I was coming.
Yeah.
But then since you started and you took over. Yeah, no, since you took over, we've been here almost every year, I think.
Yeah, we have.
But then, this year I took a risk. I took a risk. I remember my trips back then to festival in Ohio, and I met this gentleman sitting right next to me, and
That goes by the name of?
Mr. Shane Raitoshi Stevens. Ooh. And I asked
Nice to have you on the podcast.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you.
Shane has been almost a teacher or teacher in Dayton martial arts for what?
At Dayton, I started in 2004. Is when my wife and I moved to Dayton. And I was assisting in a Spirit Quest program for a little bit, and then shortly after that, I started with Mr. and Mrs. Hayes at the Dayton school.
And that makes this guy so awesome. At some point, he was studying, training, and working full-time with Mr. Hayes. So that makes his knowledge valuable. I'm just throwing flowers at you, man.
Take them.
Yeah, take them. There's a bromance going on in there.
And you do that for how long? For like 20 years or so?
I started in Portland, Maine with John Poliquin in 2002.
Okay.
Is when I first started the journey. And then, as I said, in 2004, my wife and I moved to Ohio. So ever since 2022, I've been studying Toshindo.
Okay.
2002. 2002.
Yeah, not
Yes.
22.
Did I say 22? I'm
Yeah.
sorry. 2002
Oh,
is
right.
when I started in Portland, Maine. And then
Okay.
2004 is where we moved to Ohio.
Okay, wow.
But with Stephen Rumiko Hayes, aren't you? Yeah. So that's his teacher.
Oh, that's nice. And you're doing martial art before that, or you
I
start
did
martial arts?
I did martial arts before that. I did Aikido for about 3.5 years, and then I dabbled a little bit. I wouldn't call it any kind of seriousness. I just dabbled a little bit with Kung Fu for a little while, and then Tai Chi for a little while. But I always wanted to study ninjutsu. And so when I had the opportunity when we moved to Maine, it just really kind of changed the way that I looked at martial arts from what I had previously known.
So studying ninjutsu was it the end goal for you, or you found that studying these other arts were missing something, or you were always that target was studying ninjutsu?
At the time when we lived in Colorado, there were no ninjutsu schools at all, and I always wanted to study it. And so when we had the opportunity, I was actually surprised. My wife actually found the school in Portland, Maine, online, and I was doing Aikido at that time, and so she said, "Oh, they actually have a school that says they teach ninjutsu," and I was shocked. Really? So I got excited, and I went there and started studying with John Poliquin, and I was seeing some things happen that I hadn't experienced in other martial arts. And I honestly doubted some of the things that I was seeing. Would I be capable of doing that? Because I had never seen anything like it before, and it was very different to me. And so after studying there for a while, I found that a lot of times with my experience, there's a puzzle piece that fits. You're kind of on a journey, and then there's just something that hits you inside, and you go, this is different. This is different. And for me, that puzzle piece was that. And then when my wife and I moved to Dayton, Ohio, and I had the opportunity to train with Stephen Rumiko Hayes and some of the other instructors there, it really shifted for me. I kind of felt, wow, this is so profound and so different.
And what would be that difference, if I may?
The subtlety of movement and the off-balancing that I felt when I was in uke or I was attacking. I was used to Aikido, which was very circular and capturing energy, but it was so dynamic. A little bit of Kung Fu, and so I'd seen some ways that you could generate power, and I'd seen small people in Aikido take balance, and so I'd seen that, but how I felt while it was happening was something I never experienced before. And it's really hard to experience anything. I mean, we can try to explain what we're experiencing, but inside of my body, there were things that were happening that I hadn't experienced before, and I couldn't articulate it. I had a reference point on how it felt inside, but I couldn't explain it to you at that time. I didn't have the knowledge base or the experience to be able to translate that to another human being, and that's what really set me back. And it was the full picture. It dealt with, being on the ground and standing up and multiple attackers and different ways of engaging rather than just always moving forward or hitting or always making a circle. It was so dynamic and rich. I had never experienced anything so multifaceted before in the martial arts world. And that set it aside for me. And then deep, there was an internal kind of pull where I was constantly inspired to learn more. It was beyond mechanics. It was a deep feeling of, how did you pull me off balance? You haven't physically grabbed me or touched me or hard to articulate, but
why am I falling?
Yeah, why am I falling? Or very small person, and you've got a grip of them, and you feel pretty powerful. This person's much stronger than me, and a slight shift, and I can't explain why I have no power, speed, or leverage anymore. It was hidden, and I didn't understand that. If they threw their hip into me and threw me, I would understand. No, that makes sense. That you ran me with your hip and you threw me over I felt it, I know it, but all of a sudden I'm falling and I can't explain it. Is spooky. That would be a word that I would use.
That was, wow. There was so much beautiful things said about our art. And I'm throwing the question to you three guys. Would you say that this magic, this fullness, this completeness of our art might be the greatest thing we're studying, but also one of the greatest weakness of our art? There's so much to see that at some point,
or too much to see, maybe. That's what you want to say.
I would say this: we're a different kind of crackheads to seek that knowledge, that infinite knowledge, and want to see that there's no end. And when you think you've got something, wait, but there's more. You're like, damn it. So
Mark and I have a joke. My teacher, Mark Davis, we have a joke for the longest time. We're going to be going and training. We're going to be laying on our deathbed going, I got and pass, right? Because we're never going to get it all. There's too much.
Yeah.
It's so broad. So then you said, is it the weakness? Because how do we explain that to the general public?
Yeah.
That we got something so big that when we started, we couldn't even tell you why we were falling down. We didn't know why it was working, but we just kept doing the drills until we have an idea why it's working, and we're still trying to figure out why it's working.
It was something I was saying with the colleague today during the camp. I was saying, what if ninjutsu is not for everybody, and it's perfectly fine? Because, I mean, it's my view. Maybe you can disagree, but I'm seeing this as like it requires a dedication that not everybody is able to give, because you have to dive in so deep and for, I guess, so long that many people would say, I have other stuff to do. So
that's a very valid point. You're looking at a group that have done the deep dive, and we keep going deeper. We are a rare group.
25, right?
Yeah.
22.
2002, so that was 22 as well.
36. So just the four of us sitting here, over 110, 120 years of training. 120 years of this art, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're in the deep end.
yeah.
But that doesn't mean we've had students that come in and they train for 4 or 5 years, sometimes 7, sometimes 10. But what happens is they either get to a point where their life has moved on and they don't have the time for training, or they feel they've gotten enough. They've gotten enough that they need in their life, and they want to go on to something else, or there are some people, because this art can be both the most amazing art and frustrating, because you go, wow, I'm at this level, I'm so I got that, but then it's like, well, now there's another thing. Now there's a next way to refine your movement, to make it even more effective, to be more in touch with the environment and your awareness and the people around you, because it's not just about interacting with other people. It's interacting with your environment. It's interacting with yourself. It's being aware of like trying to connect with everything, so that what you do is appropriate in the moment, whether it's when you're training or whether it's when you're at the grocery store, or you're thinking about, okay, I'm in a dicey neighborhood. What is my best way to get around here? What is my it's all of that. But some people come in and they train for a certain amount of time and they got their answer, and that's great. You don't have to do like us that we keep going. We want to keep learning more. We want to keep increasing our awareness, our knowledge. We want to keep moving forward, because we want to keep giving this to other people, because we find it so valuable and it's changed our lives. So, like you said, not everybody wants to do what we do, but that doesn't matter. You can still go and train for a while, and it doesn't have to be 5 to 10 years. It could be a year, and you get something out of that. You go, okay, now I'm more aware of how my body in space and how to move it, and maybe that's what So it's I think an art that you can custom make it to yourself, depending on what you want to do.
I think it's an art that evolves, and I think with a sincere heart would be the word I would use, where I'm very sincere about learning whatever it is that I want to learn, whether that was music or martial arts or anything. There's a connection there that I'm sincere about, and I want to continue to learn. I want to continue to advance, and as my body gets older and weaker, I can continue to evolve and refine, and it's still very effective. Mm-hmm. And I think that was something that I'd heard it many times: train like you're 80. Yeah. And I had to think about that. Why would you train like you're 80? Well, hopefully we make it to 80. But what I mean is, no, I'm using the least amount as I possibly can, and hopefully generating the best results I possibly can. Mm-hmm. And I think that is a powerful message, that it's evolving, we're refining, we're growing, we're learning that idea of Shoshin, beginner mind, where it's not, in my opinion, is not that I've forgotten everything I've learned, but I'm willing to come and look at what I've already seen, but with new eyes, in new perspective.
You asked earlier about, are we doing ninjutsu? Well, we call our stuff Shinobi Science because of what Shane just said. We don't claim to be teaching the art at its higher level. We don't claim to be experts. I mean, we have 9 schools. I'm not going to sit here and tell you, oh, Takage, Yoshinru, kata number, whatever, I'm an expert at it. No. We are practitioners of the taijutsu, the body movement system, and the mental aspects of dealing with pressure under stress and dealing with it. And those other things are places we practice and learn. The reason you guys, one of you said spooky, like there's this spooky feeling. The other reason we call it Shinobi Science, it's like, this stuff is weird. And we're like, what the hell is it? We went to science to try to explain to ourselves, oh yeah, I'm in this Japanese term, kamae, and if I tilt it a certain way, the person just loses their balance and falls down. And you do it, and you're like, what the hell just happened? I mean, first it's like, why did I just fall down? But then later it's like, how did I make them fall down? So we went to science just to try to figure out what we were doing.
Because if you don't have science, it looks like magic. Honestly, every time I learn a new ninjutsu thing, I'm like under the impression I'm looking at a magic trick.
Right.
I'm like, where's the trick? Because it feels like it's tricky. There's something you're doing that I don't catch. And that's what got me into this. And it's also the point that I was doing, because it's really nerdy in a way. It's exhausting as a training. It's really exhausting, but not so much physically, but really intellectually exhausting, because you need to be focused all day if you want to follow. Because if you miss a little thing, it's like in a Christopher Nolan movie. You miss a little thing, you miss the movie.
Yeah, and the point is being, this art, you have to have the mind, body, and spirit aligned. At some point, you will see something, you will be able to explain it, and the mind and spirit will connect, but your body will not do what it needs to do, because you have to let go of all habits.
But I think you can have that experience in other martial art, because I have that testimony from other martial artists.
Right.
But the unique thing I can take out of ninjutsu, it's really the nerdy aspect and the weird and the spooky thing. It's not something I can see and hear from other martial artists. My martial art is spooky.
You saying that, right? You were talking about how we know it's working. Other than these events, I've never seen you train. But from what you just said, I'm exhausted from thinking and trying to figure it out. I know you're doing a good job. I know you're doing it right, because that's what happens. Because if you went, hey, I got this, I'm like, no, he's not getting it. But you're going, no, it's nerdy. I don't understand it. It's crazy. I got a fork on it to figure it out. I'm done at the end of the class and I'm exhausted. We didn't even move. We're just trying to figure out how to get a foot over there.
I can watch one of his videos like many, many times, and I'm like, I think there's something I don't get yet. I go practice, and I'm going to ask him.
And you're exhausted.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
So I know you're training right.
So I know there's event coming up for you where we can train with us.
Yeah, it'd be amazing. We're hosting an event in October. It's called the Ninja Gathering, and our main focus is really try to bring people together. A lot of times, there can be walls that are kind of built, and at the end of the day, we're just trying to gather a whole bunch of people that want to learn, advance, and grow together and share perspectives. I think perspectives are extremely powerful when learning new things, and teachers have different perspectives and ways of explaining things. And if we give people more opportunities to do that with that Shoshin aspect of, I'm just going to try to look at this from a different perspective, what can I gather? What can I gain from it? And we held one last year. It was a great success. We had great feedback in regards to it. And that's our hope, to continue to give people a space where they feel comfortable to come and learn, and share with each other, and build a community of people that want to help each other grow. And just as a teacher, I think it's very powerful. As a sincere teacher, our job is, it doesn't have to do with us. It's not about us. How do I convey this to a group of people? They're all different people. They think different. How do I convey this knowledge to them so that they get it? And that's the point. You hear it from a whole bunch of different perspectives. It's not about being right. It's about, how can I help you? How can I, from my knowledge base at my level, this is what I can give you. Mm-hmm. But at higher levels, they could give you a different experience. I had it multiple times where I was learning a particular throw, Ganseki Nage, and I had a teacher who had told me for 2 years, and I didn't understand it. I didn't get it. And I had a student that wasn't as high ranked explain it to me in a different way, and I said, in that moment, I felt, I have a better understanding of it. So it didn't necessarily have to do with rank. It had to do with the way that it was presented. And as a teacher, I think that that's our main goal, is how can I help you get this knowledge? And then if you get it, the next student that's sitting next to you, if I explain it the same way, may not. But if I create an environment and an experience for everyone, they're all different experiences where everyone's experiencing the moment differently, but you can pass on that information to a way where they light up in the way where you see that they got it. It's not, to me, it's not to make me feel proud, like, oh, I did a good job. It's not about me. They got it. And that's our hope for the event and for people. So at the end of the day, when they walk away, it stays with them. The feeling stays with them. It's contagious, like energy. Being around people can be a beautiful experience or a negative experience, depending on what the energy is like. And that's what I felt from this event. Everybody, it was our first time in Quebec. It was amazing. The food's incredible. The people are very, very kind. Everybody that I met here wanted to learn. They genuinely wanted to learn, and it made such a beautiful experience for everybody. I want to feel that. I want to see that. And we had several different teachers present in different ways, and we all walked away with an experience and a reference point where I hadn't thought of that before. I remember asking a recent teacher, I asked the teacher, I said, what did you learn from this seminar? And I hadn't had a chance to finish the rest of my sentence, and I felt it was my perception where, what do you mean, what did I learn from my seminar? I said, no, what did you learn as a teacher from this seminar? And I felt like a sign of like, wait, let me think about this in a different way. And he said, I hadn't processed it yet. I need more time. But it was just one of those experiences where as teachers, we sit back and we have to evaluate, what did I present? How did I present it? Did people get it? That's the sincerity of what we're doing. I'm going to go back and reflect on my experience because, again, it transcends us. We'd have a rule like, did 70% of class get? If they didn't, then we don't need to move on. We need to adjust it. If there's just a couple people that need a little bit more assistance, okay, we get everybody, keep going at their level to where they can go, and we go touch base with those people so that everybody walks out with an experience where they feel challenged and they feel good about their experience, and they feel, I think this is important too, they feel a little frustrated. Where they walk away with, Dennis had said this a long time ago to me, and it hit me. He said, if I tell you good job, it doesn't help you grow.
He never tells me good job. Never.
What did I do good at? Then it's
good job on your fist. It's like, bang.
It's constructive. Hey, good job at ... Now here, now let's pull out the next step. So here's how you elevate from that. But you have to create an environment where people feel free enough to do that, especially in martial arts, because it's dangerous. I have to create an environment where people feel safe. We're going to do some heavy stuff in control, so that we can all walk away with a powerful experience where hopefully we draw and learn and grow from that, and we want to come back and do it again.
So that's end of October, like 27?
I believe it's the 26th and 27th.
26,
I'm gonna post the link
27.
in description.
There's still few places.
There is. It's filling up fast.
Yeah.
So I recommend, if it's something that you want an opportunity to do, I encourage you. It's an opportunity.
Well, we'll be there.
How long is the flight for Ohio from here? 1 hour, 2 hours?
It took us, at least where we flew, I think it took us less than 4 hours.
Oh, it's not that
flight time. Now
it's 16-hour drive. So.
16-hour drive.
That's what we're doing.
But we hope at the end of the day that there's people that want to come and explore with us and get some new perspectives, and for us as teachers to learn, because we've got a whole group of different people that we have to work with, and hopefully be able to pass on a powerful message where they're excited about continuing to train, and we see them for whatever. I think we all have different purposes for training, and I think as we train, that changes. As we evolve, we change. The same reasons I started with, I could have different ones as I continue to train. Just as a teacher, I gained more knowledge. I didn't think about things, and my purpose could change a little bit in regards to how I present things and so forth. So I really see it all about growth, and I hope to see anybody who's interested in there and wants to give themselves an opportunity to have an experience with no borders.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. Well, thanks, guys, for this interview.
Thank you.
Well, it was really nice to have you, all the three of you, and I enjoyed the day really much. It was a great experience. Thanks to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you for coming and training with us. It's always good to see new faces and new people.
I must do that. Kevin out.